What's up? Juno here. And this week there was a show that aired on CBS, which is a broadcast network in the United States. And there is a particular group, which I'm pretty sure you'll probably be able to guess here in a second who I'm talking about, who is pissed off at this show. But it's not for the content of the show at all. Now, just a disclaimer here, I have not watched this show. As many of you know, I work in post-production. I had no hand in this show whatsoever. I have not worked on it. I have not watched it. I don't know what it's about. I do know that the origins of this show stem from an internet persona, and because of this, apparently it spawned a show, and it was something that I guess was popular on the social networking format Twitter. So, but I think this response from this particular group is completely ridiculous. And the ways that they're going about trying to, I guess, ruin the success of the show based off of one simple thing. But I also think with this one simple thing there are problems with it, but not for the same reasons. And I am going to probably later, maybe later after this video is released, do a second part describing something that I think if they are going to be up in arms about this situation, they should be up in arms about another situation. However, if you understand how regulation and censorship goes in the United States, the FCC is the regulating body, and they can only regulate things to their capacity on broadcast television. They cannot regulate satellite or cable networks. So their reach is fairly small, and I'm guessing that's why they are focused on this, because this group has enough clout to try and get attention drawn to things that really I think are non-issues. So that's enough babbling and background. So, of course, it's my favorite group, my favorite special interest group, the Parents Television Council, and they are talking about a show on CBS called Shit My Dad Says, even though in the title, as we see put here, is exactly as it appears on the title. So let's read this and discuss it. This was released September 21st, 2010, which is 2 days before the series premiere of this show. The Parents Television Council continued its campaign against a new CBS program that includes profanity within its title. The program is entitled Shit My Dad Says, and is scheduled to premiere on Thursday, September 23rd at 8:30 p.m. The PTC has contacted over 300 potential advertisers, urging them to steer clear of the show unless they wish to associate their hard-earned brands with excrement. Now, PTC grassroots activists across the country are taking their concerns directly to their local CBS affiliates and each affiliate's local advertisers. Okay. This is just ludicrous. I mean, come on. It's not like it's spelled out for you. Are you telling me these symbols used in the title are offensive? Sure, it's kind of referred to as shit, but you know what? If you're not mature enough to use language like that, I mean, maybe you shouldn't be watching TV. And what is the big deal here? If you don't like it, don't watch it. And another thing, you can contact as many advertisers as you'd like for, to try to get them to not advertise on this program. If the show is popular and if it gains a following, it's not really going to matter. People are going to advertise, companies are going to advertise on those time slots because it's a popular show, and they know they probably aren't going to care about it. They're not going to care about the title of the show. And this isn't the first time that the PTC has tried to go and contact advertisers of a specific network for a specific program because they think it's offensive. Come on, you're adults, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure, judging by the references in this article, was written by the president of this organization, Tim Winter, who I am not a fan of in any slightest bit, which I've documented in other videos. But come on. I can't believe it. Why can't you be adults and just get over it? The Parents Television Council has heard back from more than 100 of the national advertisers we contacted last month. None of them, not a single advertiser, said they would sponsor a television program that makes reference to excrement in the program's title. The PTC's outreach will now shift from national stage to local affiliate level, said PTC President Tim Winter. Yes, Mr. Winter. Well, you are taking the term shit too literally. Shit can be used to describe a bunch of things. It's not necessarily referring to the action of or the item or the object known as fecal matter. It's a common used term in common slang. If you're really that offended by it, I mean, shit, you better go move off into a cave somewhere and be away from everybody that might potentially offend you. You don't have the right to not be offended, okay? If you're offended, good. But that doesn't mean just because you're offended or your group may be offended that other people are. You guys are of a specific mindset. Even though you claim you're nonpartisan, it's pretty obvious that you go for a certain atmosphere that is, it seems to be somewhat conservative slanted and Christian based. So anything that goes against those particular values, you guys are automatically going to take offense in. And what makes no sense to me is violence gets to exist. To some extent, language gets to exist, but especially when it comes in terms of sexual things, I mean, it's so ridiculous how our country, people in our country, react to things like that. It really pisses me off sometimes that there's idiots out there that are this vocal about stupid non-issues. Our grassroots volunteers are reaching out to local CBS affiliates in their respective communities. PTC members across the nation are also being asked to help by logging the names of local advertisers. Those local companies will then be challenged publicly to defend their decision to underwrite the delivery of excrement into their customers' living rooms. So, let me get this straight. If you see an advertiser advertising for this and they're a local company, you're going to call them out and say, why are you advertising here? If I owned a business and I chose to advertise because I knew this show was going to be popular and you decided to call me out, I would tell you to go fuck yourselves. I don't have to explain myself. I know the show's popular. I want to use my decision to advertise my business there. It doesn't matter to me. If I'm going to earn the most money, I mean, isn't this about earning money, being in business, being successful? If I'm going to go and advertise something on TV, which is ridiculously expensive, I want it to be broadcast as much as possible so I have the most potential to earn money off of it. Duh! And that's plenty of reason enough. If you don't like it, tough shit. I don't care. Media reports suggest the program itself will not contain problematic content or harsh language. So it begs the question why CBS is insisting on keeping a four-letter word in the title. Actually, it's edited out. These aren't letters here. These are symbols, okay? And, okay, your issue is with the title of it, which I'll get into here in a minute why this is still problematic, but not for the same reasons. It doesn't really matter. You're not being adult enough to be able to repeat it. And that shows your own immaturity, not CBS going against what you don't like. Well, I guess in a way they are, but it doesn't really matter. They're CBS, they're a private company, they can do whatever the fuck they want. And the history behind it, they want to preserve it. That's the whole idea. Do you not understand that? Probably not. They aren't fooling anyone by relying on a thin veil of symbols. And the network's designated panacea for indecency, the V-chip, does nothing to block the program's title, nor does it provide a filter for its ubiquitous promotion. Well, you know something? Seeing as the PTC lobbied for the V-chip heavily and then realized it was such a failure because it was either too complex, I guess idiots can't figure out how to use it, or it just didn't work to how they liked it, censoring out all things they deemed offensive. Something you don't realize is a lot of houses have modern cable or satellite systems, and they also have boxes associated with it. And with certain TVs, newer brand TVs, you can, instead of filtering out by title of show, you can filter out by rating. So instead of just specifically kicking out certain shows, you can completely disable a whole batch based on ratings instead. And that's more effective in a way. But did he mention that? Fuck no. The network's decision to use the S word in the title brings a new light to their legal challenges demanding the right to air fleeting profanity at any time of the day. This isn't fleeting profanity. It's fucking edited out enough. It doesn't matter. The title of the show is the very opposite of fleeting. Okay, and this last chunk here is the best, most idiotic statement that he could have said, because he is so wrong on this. Just in the first blurb. Americans, the real owners of the public airways. No, dipshit. You are wrong, Mr. Winter. You are so wrong. CBS is owned by a conglomerate. It's not owned by the public. A private company owns that network. If you want to talk about public broadcast systems, you're talking about PBS, which are funded on donations by the viewers. CBS gets their money from advertisers. Let's look at the BBC. Now, I'm not an expert on British television in the slightest, but they get revenue and stuff from their licensing fee that the citizens pay. That's a part of why there's no ads. They're like PBS, except better. Their programming's better. They have more funding. Now, if any of my viewers live in the UK anywhere and care to expand on this in the comments or in a video response, if there's other things that go into it, I would love to hear it. I would love to know how that process works with public broadcasting over there. So let's continue on here. Deserve and expect better from CBS. We will not rest until the voices of the citizens are concerned about the rise of profanity on TV are heard. I'm not offended, but I'm pissed off that you're trying to get into something that you don't really need to. It's just ridiculous. Now, my issue with the title has nothing to do, well, it partially has to do with how it was censored, because I've been reading reports that people set DVRs to record this show, and because they use symbols as the first word, it didn't pick it up. So people who weren't able to watch it when it broadcast missed it because their DVRs didn't recognize it. So CBS may either need to come up with some sort of algorithm that will make DVRs and other recording devices pick it up, or might need to change the title or slightly just to get it to work. Otherwise, they may have a huge problem on their hand, and it may happen to hurt the popularity of the show. But what do you think? Do you think their outrage is justified, or do you think it's just them being idiots like I do? I'm not saying my way is the right way. If you have some other perspective, throw it. Go for it. I'd love to hear it. Video response, comment, doesn't matter to me. So yeah, and I'm going to have another video following up on this shortly, describing something else that happened recently on TV. It was cable, but it still happened on TV, and I think it was much more likely to offend than this. Anyway, do your part. Blaspheme daily.